Hello. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Calling EU. Ring ring, hello. I've got two awesome guests. I've got Dylan Thompson, one of the best players in Ireland, and of course we've got Yorgos Samaras, the Greek god himself from Greece. Guys, how are you? How are you, Dylan?
Good, yeah. Just doing a lot of prep for London, mostly.
Yeah? So what about the RTNs though? Is that part of the prep?
Yeah, like I'm already qualified, so I'm gonna kind of experiment around, hopefully. With Zen and Viserai LLing soon, I'm probably gonna try some wild cards.
Oh, don't. Sad times, man. This is it's a sad day for me in the office. The thought of Visceral leaving, but yeah, we're here, everyone. 2025. Some say it's good, some say it's bad. I'm one of those guys that we'll see. What about you, Yorgos? Christmas doing you well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm chilling before we start the madness about prepping for Prague and stuff. I mean, we are hours before we start seeing spoilers regarding Handed. So and my excitement can only keep yourself at a specific point. So
Yeah, yeah. It's been quite. I like this spoiler season. They've definitely drip fed enough stuff for like. Especially, I like the fact that they just put the Arachne heroes out before Christmas. But what does Mark do? We're not gonna go there because by the time this gets going, we're all gonna know what that is. So we have got 3 topics as per usual. So if you want to leave a topic for our next guests, just comment below anything, and then we will throw that topic out for our next episode. But we're gonna start with you, Yorgos. You brought a topic along. It is our class is destined to have bad matchups. What do you mean? Break that headline down.
So, I mean, with everyone who has some experience in Flesh and Blood, probably, in most competitive season, there is a pretty strictly out, rock, paper, scissors type of, spread. Zen is the best in the format and loses to Nu, and what Nu loses to, they lose to Enigma, and, there is this circle that keeps repeating itself. There is, the deck on the format, the counter, and the deck that beats the counter. So, and we've seen that quite a few times, for the competitive history of Flesh and Blood. And it should be reaching a point where Flesh and Blood is no longer a super young game. So are we ever going to reach the point where you can actually transform a bad matchup designed from your class? The best example probably is Guardian Illusionist. With your sideboard and with your specific take on a deck, can you actually make a matchup like Guardian Illusionist actually Guardian favored ever? Are we ever going to get to the next level of the rock, paper, scissors? And now that's not only 3 elements, there are 5. It's way more in depth than just being, 3 to sometimes 4 heroes that do this circle all around them.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll pass it to you, Dylan, in a sec. But I think really that question to me falls into the category of I actually think that only 2. I might get this wrong, and I'm willing to accept that there's more. But I think there's only 2 classes that absolutely totally polarize the whole thing, and I think that is Wizard, and that is with really Kano and Illusionists. They're just the nature of how they are as classes. Straight up, just go right. Well, this isn't good for X amount of classes straight out of the gate. Now, would we be actually having this if, let's say, Illusionists and Kano didn't exist, right? If I just said, I don't know why I'm even going to bother saying the word Bolton, because he does straight up just loses to his own class. But okay, let's just say Bolton versus any other class. Would you go, yeah, no, he just straight up sucks to this person. There's nothing he can do. You know what I mean? Like if Illusionist wasn't here, I don't know. There's a bit of me makes me think. I wonder if actually there's a world you can actually go. Yeah, no, you know what? And I am thinking Bravo. Bravo's that hero, isn't he? He's the one that just has that spot of feeling for a long time before Prism came out. He was doable. Like, you know what I mean? You could pull it out. I mean, check out Kale McGreeve. He can pull stuff out if you just go hard enough. But these two, this illusionist class and Kano is actually the biggest issue. That's my thoughts. I don't know about what do you think, Dylan?
No, I do agree that the biggest offenders are illusionists, and I think Kano more so. Whereas with illusionists, I think you have to heavily tech for the matchup, and that's its strength. That you're probably putting 15 sideboard cards to try and win that matchup.
Yeah.
Whereas with Kano, if you're a guardian, like a warrior, like especially during heavy hitters meta, it was very hard for a lot of decks to go into Kano, and that's why the pitch deck strategy was so strong. That experienced Kanos could just kind of abuse that. It was just a knowledge check for most matchups.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing, I mean, obviously, illusionist and wizard, they're so much more polarized, but, can warriors ever beat a deck that never wants to block?
Yeah. I mean,
don't they naturally have that fundamental problem where, warriors want to play a game of trading, but no matter most of the time what you do with warriors, you won't be able to beat a deck that never wants to trade and then just do their own thing, for instance.
I might be I don't know if I'm super out of touch, but isn't a Dawnblade Dorinthia deck just winning designed to go, well, I'll win either way. Like, that was when I first started, that was the heroes, like, and then you just get good and then you know how to do it right. But isn't Dorinthia that perfect answer, Yorgos, to go, well, yeah, I don't block, I just get stronger?
I mean, totally, but we never seen Dorinthia perform like great. I mean, the best performance we've ever seen with Dorinthia was with the max version of Hatchets and stuff. That's the best Dorinthia we've seen ever perform. And we have seen a lot of meta games where Rangers never wanted to block, ninjas never wanted to block, and that's, I think, one of the reasons illusionists never wanted to block. So, and that's the reason I think that why warriors never got to shine apart from heavy hitters, because it feels like their class design is that. And I could go on and be the same with Ranger with disruption. Ranger always wants to do its thing, but is very subtle to disruption, etc., etc., etc. So I guess my point being again is, will we ever get them to the next layer where the matchup, the meta games is not okay? Currently, Zen probably is one of the strongest decks in the format. What beats Zen? Probably New. What beats New? Probably Enigma. And that's it. You don't have many other ways to walk around by not touching this stuff.
It's hard, isn't it? Because I think overall, so let's just turn around and say that what is the worst classes against the most polarizing class, which is Illusionist. Illusionist is the most polarizing class in the entire game. That's the one that just straight up just goes, yeah, well, if you're this class, you're probably going to lose, right? Do we need, if those here, are we saying that we want to, or Yorgos, are you saying that you would like to have those classes just go, look, I've got options now? Like, for example, which I don't think is actually probably going to cut it still, is that new Guardian aura destroying card. And I actually think that's really sick. I think that's actually a very cool card, which leans into some design space for you to just play, to build your deck in a certain way. And do you know what I mean? Are we already in that sphere? Potentially?
I feel like we are in a great part of it. I mean, that, it feels like LSS really wants to give more options to the deck, and that's why we see all these, not weird, but, very specific cards in some classes targeting some very specific things. But all I'm going to say is that at the end of the day, and probably the best example for that is the new Bolting reaction that, is supposed to be destroying Enigma. I mean, if you could bring a Bolting player and tell him, craft a card that will actually help you beat Enigma, and he would literally craft this card. Okay, it's insane. I honestly feel like that Enigma Bolton is still like a 90-10 favored to Enigma.
Of course, yeah. I don't think
Yeah,
they've. I
you
don't
know,
think they've ever managed to build a balanced illusionist. Probably Prism 2, but that's because they really like tapered her right down. Do you know what I mean? But they have like what Prism 1 busted, Dromai busted, Enigma busted. Like I think it's kind of hard, isn't it? Because I think illusionists are always that class that just goes, just sorry, bro. There's when you put lots of stuff on the board, things get a little bit ropey. Or what do you think, Dylan?
I think. See, I don't think Illusionist is that big of an offender compared to a deck like Kano or even Icelander. I think might
But
be
even Kano
even
now,
lower.
I mean, like I think pre-book
Yeah,
banning, Kano
yeah. Like
is like a different world to a Kano now.
I think Kano is suffering from what the meta is in general, and that can happen to Illusionists as well. Like if everything was hyper disruption, hyper kind of wide aggro. Like if every deck was Fi, Illusionist wouldn't be good right now. It's like in PT Leo, um, it was tough to play Illusionist, but it was very like large skill check. That if you were playing it at an armory level, Illusionist seemed more frustrating than it probably really was, in my opinion.
But go to Yorgos's point, it's just that yeah, some classes just straight up cannot deal with this. Like, and there's no option, and you've got to move off and be this completely different hero. And I don't think you're trying to state that every hero should just have an easy ride with everyone. Otherwise, it will be a very boring game because it's just who got their power cards first. But there's got to be some more. I don't know. It's kind of hard, really, isn't it? How do you?
Yeah.
Is it? Are we fine? You know, are we first off? Are we fine with this? I mean, are you fine with this, Dylan? With the way it is, like you,
I think it's fine. Like
yeah,
I think an issue with Flesh and Blood is like if you play a game like Magic or any other card game, is a lot of your strategy is I'm gonna dodge my worst matchup.
yeah,
Because there are like a lot of 90-10 matchups in different card games. But we are so used to the back and forth of Flesh and Blood that when that's taken away from us, we kind of feel more frustrated by it.
yeah. I think I don't like 90-10s, but I like 60-40s. If that makes sense, I want a lot more 60-40s. Like I like that. I know for the fact that if I picked up a Viscerai deck, that I am going to see some matchups that are like damn rough, but not out. Do you know what I mean? Rough,
But
but
like
not out.
when you play Viscerai into like an Ira, do you not feel like you're the 90 to the 10?
Yeah, but then I'm also, but like the I could just get just completely done over by my own deck. So don't get me wrong. Yeah, like there is outs. Don't. But then I'd rather there was like a back and forth. I'd rather I think it's kind of like yeah no I've just won this. Like it doesn't feel. I don't mind. Obviously, if I'm playing in a tournament and I'm winning, happy, right? You know. But if I was just, I suppose the element of tournaments and just playing the game, that they're two different things, aren't they? Yeah, of course, I'd love to bring the 90-10 deck and I'm 90 in everyone in a pro tour. That'd be sweet. But when we're watching the game, like if we're watching the Worlds in America this year, or we're watching the Pro Tour in APAC, and you just see two people sit down, and everyone goes, "Oh," well, they do the vote thing. Yeah, that guy won because he's playing Enigma, and the other one's playing to like Kasai. It's done, isn't it? Like no one's going to even want to watch that game because you just know it's over. Is that and I suppose it's competitive or not, we would love to just go, cool, Kasai, yeah, that's definitely we should be voting for Enigma.
yeah,
But
but do you
it's not
think?
out. Like the Kasai has options. The Kasai has a game plan to deal with this, X, Y, and Z. I think that's what I would like to see. I don't want us to see this straight up. Oh, Guardian versus it's Bravo versus Enigma. I guess I'll just put Netflix on and come back in an hour, or
Yeah,
probably half an hour.
I think that's a more hero centric issue. Like with Old Prism and Enigma, their mechanics were very like Guardian versus those types of illusionists was a terrible thing to watch.
Even
But
but even
when
Dromai.
no, but like Dromai created like the ghostly touch was interesting, and then when it got into the red line builds and Bravos got like the 3 thunk, it was a 90-90 that everyone was
Oh yeah,
debating on. And it
yeah.
was fun to
Okay,
watch.
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. You're probably right there. Anyway, sorry, Yorgos, you just to if you like to summarize your last points before we move over to
Yeah,
Dylan's topic.
yeah. So, do you guys think that that part of the game is needed, or do you prefer exactly what you described, like having more close matchups, even that that might cut a bit of the power level of the game?
Um,
I'd like I'd like every matchup to be a 50-50 and like introduce more skill expression, but as we as there's more classes and more heroes, it's hard to create a design space where everything's 50-50 as we keep printing more stuff. That there just has to be accepted that there's going to be a 90-10 even if maybe the top 10 decks are all 50-50 into each other. There's going to be some rogue deck that can't beat another deck.
yeah, yeah, I I do. To be
What?
honest, I think that's what you're saying, Dylan, is the most real. I also, it's clearly going to be this way. Not something isn't going to hold up, right? And it probably will if that one that it's just never going to be isn't relevant either, which is probably where the this is where the why people bring these rogue decks along is because of the I think really this year has been clouded by with partner misfail. Let's be honest. Like the whole thing is just clouded by partner misfail. If it wasn't as pumped, because it really does feel like it's just this. If someone said to me, "When was this out?" and it's like, I don't know, Monarch, Tales of Aria, Uprising time. It really is in that boat of like, God, Christ Almighty, this stuff's crazy.
I think my
Yeah, I think that's jading everything because it is
I think
just the misfail heroes dominating everything at this point.
I think that's like I think it's more highlighted with Illusionist and Kano because they are usually at the top of the meta, but like we never hear people complaining about like I'm playing Teklovaz and it's impossible for me to beat Wager Betsy because I can't block with anything. Or like Arachne probably had 90-10 into Lexi.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's yeah, and that's yeah. You make a fair point there. Arachne 90-10 into Lexi though. That's a
That
that's a,
that's
that's
hard. That's
a,
hard. Yeah, yeah. We need to
that's
test this out. Yeah,
yeah.
that
We
we
need to
need to
give it
test
some
this out.
yeah, exactly. But if there's
No,
anything,
like
yeah, I concede to that point.
no, like we had an Arachne at we have a guy who just loves Arachne and at Nationals round 1 he paired them to Alexi and
Did he
their
win?
game was no, it was
No,
round 1
God.
health, but no, every Lexi player that won their round 1 was just watching that game like why is this so close? We didn't know what to do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Right. Thank you, Yorgos. We'll move over to you now, Dylan. Should LSS make more hero-focused cards? I guess really, this is a nice little good follow-on from what Yorgos was saying as well. So, if you wanted to elaborate on that headline.
Yeah, so it's mostly I feel that the design space has been limited by the class system. Like with the upcoming set with the Hunted, we're getting Assassin and Ninja again. And
Yeah.
we can assume that the Assassin card pool, or even the Draconic Ninja card pool, is going to be a majority of what we've seen before. And then they're going to print kind of broken, like, these are the push cards to get this set into the meta.
Yeah.
Whereas I think either expanding designing by class or creating more specialization cards will allow for kind of sets to not feel as old because we've had 3 sets that were just assassin. Like we had dynasty into outsiders into part the misfail. I think we had like one set break in between. And then
Yeah,
we
I
had
was
like
actually thinking of this as well because it definitely feels that the hunted is like, oh, another load of assassins. But when you actually, weirdly, if you think about it, Dynasty into Outsiders was like a one after another, and that was fine because it
the foundation was kind of
it sucked. Dynasty's foundation was
Yeah,
like, yeah, that wasn't good. And then we had a massive break until literally part of the misfail. Outsiders to part of the misfail is Dusk Till Dawn into Bright Lights into Heavy Hitters. So it's a long time between those two sets, but it feels like it isn't. And I know what you mean, though. It's like, oh, okay, more 0 for 3s with stealth attached to it.
That might come from like Dusk Till Dawn and Bright Lights didn't really feel like a period.
Yeah, that's true. But I do agree and that's why I do agree that I think a bit of me is in that camp of like these expansion slot cards just feel so perfect for this, right? It's so perfect for just going, here you go. Here's a specialization. And they do. I think they do. Yeah, they have. They're already doing it. They're doing it for Verdance with Ring of Roses, or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And although that card is a bit sus, I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like, here we go.
Like it works in two kind of directions. Like I feel if they printed more specializations, we could have cards like High Octane, but for like Max specifically, or
Max Octane.
Maybe if Max Octane,
yeah.
Or like, but it does also limit design because like Dash IO was originally meant to be Data Doll in development.
Yes.
And then James White even said that Benji was meant to be the third part, the Misfail hero, and then they transitioned over to Zen because they couldn't balance Spring Tidings.
Right. Okay. So we're saying, so that's the thing, isn't it? They've got these specialization cards, which is hero centric, but they were actually
too pushed.
Bit of me makes me just ban it then. Yeah.
But instead, they banned the whole mech class instead.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, but probably that's the problem, though, right? I mean, if you ever print a Codex power level card that's tied to a specific hero, I mean, that's one of the huge arguments that Flesh and Blood has compared to other games, right? That the expensive cards of Flesh and Blood are pretty universal. You won't spend money on a card that's only tied to something, and after 3 months it disappears. While there could be a problem regarding that, if Bonds of Ancestry was Zen specialization. So, and it reached like €45 a piece, or something. Then Zen gets, LLs, and it takes them 3 years to print a new Zen, and you have these 45, you have these expensive cards sitting in your, album that they never get to see play apart from Living Legend, for instance.
Yeah, I like the cut. I like the way that they would design. It's kind of weird, isn't it, when you see specialization cards, because you sort of see it and you immediately go, okay, well, this is meant to be for X hero. Again, I tell you what, I just keep throwing out Viserai. Sorry, everyone. I'm just going to keep throwing out Viserai in here. He's got, what's it? The Bequest the Vast Beyond, or whatever it's called, right? Viserai specialization. You look at it, yeah, no, is that what it's called? Yeah, that card, Yorgos, the one you're pulling your face at. The one that's basically one half of Skeletor, but it blocks for 2. Yeah. And he goes, Viserai specialization. And you sort of go, I'm gonna use this, right? It kind of sucks, but why? Maybe it's interesting. I'd love to probably next time sort of grab someone from LSS if I ever get the chance, or just speak to them when they come over to London and go, what is this do? Like, what's this doing? Because I love, like, for example, this new Bolton card. It doesn't say Bolton written anywhere on it, but it's just it is clear. Or Cull, although you know what I mean. It definitely makes the hero feel like it's theirs, but it's open enough to keep it going. I think mostly you're right with your headline though, Dylan. That I think the biggest thing around this is that some heroes really are getting some love, and they really are quite fleshed out. For example, heroes like Aurora and Enigma and Zen and even flipping Oldhim. It's just loads, but there are some that are just like, I don't know, bro. Betsy, Olympia, like the original Arachne. You just go like, well, I think Olympia and probably Betsy are the massive offenders here. I even go down the world of like Max. I don't really know what he is. Like, you know what? Yeah, fair enough. It's Wager. He boosts. You know what I mean? It's just like
like I get the argument of if we print these cards that are hero centric specializations and then the hero LLs, it feels like these cards are gone. But I feel like when you pick a hero, you should be invested as much into that hero. Like when you play Viserai and you play Become the Arc Knight, that feels that's your thing, is that hero.
I definitely know that, like, they had that at the start. The Arc Knight
like
shard. The Arc Knight shard is like that's the most Viserai. That's if you're a big Viserai fan, you gotta get the card, right? Even though you probably don't want to play it, but you gotta get the card.
Yeah, it's like when you play Oakenold in Starvo, it doesn't feel the same as if you played an Oldhim, even though it's not an Oldhim spec.
No, or Jarl throwing out Oakenold. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's I think what probably instead of all cards, I think they've got to just land the theme, haven't they? Like, what is the theme of this? When you play, what's it? Oh god, why have I forgot that Bolton card? The
Lumina Ascension.
Yeah. It's Bolton, right? Lumina Ascension.
Okay, for instance, Oakenold probably is a great example, but cards like Oakenold, would you prefer for it to be a specialization for Oldhim then?
Yeah.
I think it would have made the Starvo meta a lot more fair.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that annoyed me the most. One of the most annoying things about Tales of Aria is everyone picked that card up and went, why is this not an Oldhim only card? Like, it just fell off the theme wagon a little bit.
To do devil's advocate, I mean, don't you enjoy the fact that now Jarl, though, can test with Oakenold in mind? Okay, Starvo is a thing, but Starvo is a pretty different thing because, everyone knows that this guy was not properly checked. So I can give an argument that, Starvo is a totally different thing. And obviously, any powerful card would feel insane in Starvo because the deck is completely insane. But moving into more realistic heroes like Jarl, for instance, do you mind that Jarl has the opportunity of testing around and trying to fit Oakenold into a play style and into a deck that's probably not what he wants to do?
It's hard, isn't it? Because actually, truly, deep down, I don't care. Right? Truly deep down, I don't care. Right? But if I'm reaching to sort of figure out, I love the fact that Jarl's mechanic, even though it's probably it does seem a little bit like one-sided. I love the fact that he's the mangle guy, right? That is like the theme he's putting across a little bit.
And Oakenold takes away from that,
a little bit, yeah. I think Oakenold's thing is just going, you're the Earth Ice guy. I mean, that is literally what the card is. He goes, "You're an Earth Ice hero? Well, look at this. This is your Earth Ice." Whereas, yeah, that's it. It just feels like that to me, if they just turn around and said that was only Oldhim, and then we go, oh, Jarl can't use Oakenhold, probably just gives them more room to actually make something a bit more Earth Ice based.
Like they would design another card to fill that slot because they're not just gonna send him out. Like
and it's
if
Jarl based.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I think High Octane is another card that is on the same level as Oakenhold, where it's like if the Dash IO deck came out and Cerebellum Processor was a Dio specialization and High Octane was a Max specialization, like we'd have the deck that we have now, and then Max could still be mid tier but comfortable.
Yeah. I think we're also playing around. I think this is that weird transition period of old cards, and there was a design mindset team. You know what I mean? And you can clearly see they're just evolving, but they've got to work with old ideas as well.
Yeah.
That was not pictured into how they're probably thinking now, if that makes sense.
Like Blood Rush Bellow worked really well because it's fine in KO.
Yeah, no, Blood Rush Bellow's fine. Mandible Claws isn't fine. Like Mandible Claws is just not a fine card because it just totally just defines a class. What's the point? Being no matter what weapon it is, it just goes yeah. But if they just turn around and went, "This is Rhinos," like or KO, like when they printed out Blood Rush Bellow, do you know what I mean? They just go, "This is." I know it's really hard as well because at the time there's not many heroes, so why would you want to limit it in such a way? But now we're looking like it's coming close to League of Legends amount of heroes at this point. That we've got old card pools that have just clearly it was only for Rhinar because it was only Rhinar using Blood Rush Bellow and Mandible Claws. Oh, here's Levia. Right, okay, I guess some Mandible Claws, Blood Rush Bellow, the Levia deck, I guess.
But I think that contradicts a bit the fact that we do like to deck build, though. I mean,
yes.
I like when a new hero pops out. I want to have a lot of different powerful options and try to look what I'm going to tailor into the specific hero to counter a specific metagame. If, Blood Rush Bellow is a KO specialization and Mandible Claw is a Reiner card and then a new Brute pops out, then it's literally what we said earlier, that it feels like this is the 60 cards you're supposed to play. This is the deck you're supposed to play. Nothing more. No innovation. That's what you're supposed to do. This deck has these specific matchups that are good and bad, and move on. That's it. Now we just wait for his time in the circle of the meta game to get a LELT, and then we print the next thing, while limiting the amount of, Bonds of Ancestry obviously being a Katsu card, not being a Katsu specialization, at least for a week, pushed Zen players when MST came out to be like, oh, okay, let's try and fit 3 copies of Bonds in the deck. Oh, it's broken, let's add 6 copies. Oh, it's insane, let's add 9 copies of the deck, etc., etc.
But then, like, my counter to that would be, then instead of focusing on specializations, they should introduce more classes or diversify classes, because then you can print decks that don't have specializations, but they have the class restriction, and you can have this new card pool that you're allowed deck build with generics that isn't restricted by name.
Yeah. I think that is another whole thing as well. But I think there's definitely an argument to that because we're adding more heroes to classes rather than more classes. There's definitely a topic in there somewhere. I think they're building themselves into such a hole that imagine they just brought, instead of this new Arachne, they brought out the Necromancer.
Yeah.
He's just gonna straight up like, what are you gonna do? Just push this cards to the unholiness of holy because he's only got one set worth of cards? He'd just suck instantly compared to someone like Ninja.
But then I think you can work around like the generic pool. Like you could, like there's some very interesting generic cards. Like you could probably make a deck that, like, the developers are smart. They know what cards exist, and there's like combos like Moon Wish Sunkiss, for example.
Yeah,
They could put together something that like utilizes that, and then kind of leave that puzzle there for people to figure out.
yeah, that's true. But the thing is wouldn't it also just be that argument of people going, look, I really like. I think, but for example, Bolton's a deck that's pretty cheap to buy because his whole stick is around light and light cards. So just focus on the word light, and if it's got light warrior, that's also pretty good as well. And charge. If you can just get those things in, you're sweet. And yeah, you don't really need to worry about C&Cs and E-strikes. You can, but don't worry. It's not the end of the world. But as if you then go, yeah, no, we've got this new class coming out, which is probably what talents are doing as well. Talents are like generic cards for talent stuff only. So I think talents is probably why they had to push that out for illusionists, although weirdly not assassins as well. It's very complex. I'm glad I don't know how to design this game, but yeah. But then if you were to make the necromancer and you go, yeah, he's got quite a few generic cards, you've got to sort of lean into that. Now you're in the realms of you're stuck with these incredibly expensive C&Cs, E-strikes, weakest links, warmongers, because you've got to pad your deck out with good cards in some way. Sorry, mate, you've got the pile of this stuff costs a bomb. Whereas if they were just classes, they would cost a penny.
Like, I think the specialization design space can be like well done. Like, Become the Arcanite as a card doesn't limit Viscerize. Well, eliminate it. No, not really. Like, it doesn't limit Viscerai in his deck building. Whereas I feel with Jarl, for example, with Oakenold, the card is so powerful that it then negates other cards that I may consider.
But if that card was attached to Oldhim, it'd be you go, okay, well, sure. This is a very complex topic, Dylan, because it's so. Overall, though, let's be frank. Overall, are we actually fair? Like, as much as we probably love, and I think LSS is on it. Like, I don't think they're sitting there going, "Yeah, we solved it." You know, yeah. I think they're always like, this could be a bit better. This could be a little bit better, and they're just tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. But are they fulfilling their ethos currently, which is about does this feel like a hero? Like, when you play this hero, does this feel like you're standing out as this is the hero?
I think some heroes, they really do well at that.
Yes.
Like Viscerai, I think is like one of the best examples. Like,
and Prism.
Prism like feels great to play. Like, even the new Prism feels amazing with like Halo.
Yeah.
Like Enigma is super fun to block with, and it's like this Enigma puzzle kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually do think that Jarl is also in that camp, because I think Oakenold's really the only offender. But when you actually look at the rest of it, you do go, I mean, he's smashing my armor up and he is freezing me. That's the guy's stick, and he is doing that, and he doesn't feel like Oldhim. Do you know what I mean?
I like when they like the little things they kind of put into Jarl or like Icelander as well, because like I was on Armory yesterday, and it was LL, and I was playing someone was playing as Starvo, and they played Blizzard, and the other player was just like, oh yeah, I forgot Blizzard just doesn't make a frostbite, because like Icelander would make a frostbite, Jarl it would make a frostbite. Like, those little like interactions that come from the hero on other cards are what I really like.
Yeah. What ones do you think aren't cutting it?
I feel like, well, I think old Zen. I really like Zen currently. This kind of mid-rangey defensive Zen. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like they fixed him. But like Warrior doesn't. Hatchet's Warrior didn't appeal to me. It was just numbers. It didn't feel like this kind of you're in battle, you're trying to like find a weak point kind of thing. It's just like, if I do this over and over, I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Yorgos, because I think your point of going, we love the freedom of deck building, but we want the characters to feel like the hero we imagine them to be. And
yeah, I mean, we have a lot of
Yeah.
We have a lot of soft spots. I mean, Warrior never felt really fleshed out, Brute, maybe, Riptide is another great example that, there have been some decks, there have been, some, but it never felt really unique. You still, buff and play Codex or something, You
Yeah.
still play buff, activate your ball, and throw an arrow.
I think the
I
one that
yeah.
doesn't do it for me is Verdance as well. Like I don't think they have an identity.
No, the thing is, I can see it. I just don't think I don't think it's landed, but I can see
Mm.
it. I know what she's trying to do. She wants to try to prolong the game, heal, like decompose, heal deals arcane, reach an endpoint. The machine is made, but it doesn't. It just doesn't do it. The card pool doesn't achieve that. But I know that's how it should be, and when the card pool does achieve it, I can fully envision that is how that hero should be. Yeah, but Olympia just bugs me to the the worst ends of everything, because yeah, he like when he goes, oh, if I wager I get gold. Okay, yeah. Kasai, I make gold.
Oh,
What?
like Victor, like as well, is like really good design.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
he feels it, right? He feels.
Yeah.
I really do feel it with him. But yeah, the biggest offenders is just Olympia. Even Betsy, I think Betsy I can actually just you could pull her away from, like, if you just brought her Bravo, Yarl. Is there another one? No, there isn't. I think it's just those three. You could look at those three in a line and go, yeah, no, I can. Apart from Bravo's very, very, very tame looking, I can put these three into in different visions. But Olympia and Kasai, are they just like, Kasai is clearly the most well thought through design hero, and Olympia is such a just back of a fag packet feel. It feels, and I'm not LSS. You could probably just come at me.
Yeah, but
You come at me, bro. But that one just
yeah,
really just goes.
I mean, then do you mind heroes like Ira then? I mean,
No, I don't.
I'm
No,
not
no.
100%.
Sorry, OG Ira fans. Sorry, +1's my next attack is so thematic. Oh, it's oozing with all of this.
I mean, don't
Oh,
they
I
serve a
think
purpose though? I also do not like the fact, when Olympia was first shown out, I love that theme. I love the whole arena glory
yeah,
stuff.
I get that. I don't mind that. I just think
Yeah,
it's, but
that's
its
his
hero
thing.
ability
But
just doesn't.
I'm really sad that he never pulled off a deck and never pulled off anything unique, for instance. I'm totally on that train, but do we mind having some heroes that are much simpler and their value, their effects are pretty clean, straight out? If you win a wager, get a gold, etc. Your second attack, its turn, gets +1. I don't know.
but
Yeah,
like I
yeah. Go on.
if it's thematic, like Ira's an exception because it was the tutorial hero. It's like Ash and Leaf.
Weirdly, I accept it. Like, I weirdly
But
look at
like
this and go, "This was the tutorial hero."
when they printed like Arachne slip through the cracks, like when I saw that, I was like, why are they printing this?
No, I don't know. Yeah. I totally agree on that front.
Like it looks really cool, but
Oh, the Guardian,
it's,
right, okay. Yeah.
but like it's
But this is the same as the other one.
stealth gets go again.
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
other
your
one,
first
yeah,
outfit
but the other
again.
one has that. What's it?
Yeah.
What's it? The isolated one. I can't remember the one that came out in Outsiders. That was a young hero only.
Yeah, it's the adult version of
It's not the
that,
adult
but
Oh, it's the adult version of that.
But has the chaos
Yeah.
tag as well.
Oh, so it's the adult version of that. Yeah, I
It-
don't
it-
know. I don't know. It's
but see, I don't mind it for young heroes because they have to design draft sets.
yeah.
But when it's like I just saw slip through the cracks, and there's no theme here. It's just you had the young hero base, you made it, and your next stealth attack as go again isn't thematic at all, and it's gonna carry over Arachne specializations, but it's not gonna work in that build.
He is an adult hero, isn't he? I always thought he was a young hero. Okay,
But
so
yeah, but, do you really mind, for Slip Through the Cracks existing when it's, straight up, it's designed for someone newer, or if you want a much cleaner effect? Because, honestly, I don't feel like Slip Through the Cracks will ever be a top meta contender
yeah,
ever
but
for the next few years.
but I think Dylan's
But
point is this is not. It's not about being a top contender. It's just
it's
like
not advertised like Ira. Like Ira was advertised as this is the new this is the introductory hero, and then the celebration for like the 5 year was the introductory hero is now in our main format since Blitz isn't as big. The issue I also have with Arachne Slip Through the Cracks is the text says both players' stealth cards gets go again the first time. That's so niche for a new player to understand that I don't think it is that like it's a simpler new player mechanic card.
I just got more of a problem with like it just doesn't feel necessary. It doesn't feel necessary at all. It even though I could say the Jakai warrior doesn't feel, or another royal draconic ninja is necessary. Is this necessary to do this? No. But is this hero oozing with its own thing going on? Yes.
Yeah, like
Yes, it
like
does. That's
Syndra is
fine.
really cool.
Yeah, it's Syndra to Phi. It's just there's something that I can just grab that hero and go, yeah, I can see what this hero is trying to do. Slip through the crack around it. Sure, fine. Yeah, it's just yeah. Yeah,
Like even with the hero like Betsy and Olympia, as you can see what they were going for.
Yeah,
Where Slip Through the Cracks is just there.
yeah. It's yeah. It's
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing, though. Isn't a safe spot? So, new LLs, and now the assassin player wants to play something before they figure out their next deck. Do you mind that they can play Arachne for a month before the new set gets spoiled and before they gather their new cards?
Which of the three Arachnes?
Slip Through the Cracks. There is a player that invested in new and got all the new staples and played for a full MST season, and then new got LL'd, and then the easiest thing to translate into would probably be the easiest of the assassins, probably being, Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. So do you mind having that safe spot for that player?
But
because
is Slip Through the Cracks even coming out in this set, or is this just a premiere only card?
Oh no,
I think it's a pre-release promo.
Is this an Ira? Is this a Blaze?
I think it is an Ira, yeah.
So you have to be over there to get this hero. Sure. Yeah. Okay, so it's not even coming out into a set.
The young version is in the set as a draft hero.
No, so the young Chaos Arachne, the hunt, the one that swaps and moves about, that young one's in there. But
yeah, but so is Solitary Confinement.
Is it?
Yeah, they made 4 Blitz decks for the thing, and Solitary Confinement.
Yeah, but Slip Through the Cracks is that hero in the set?
The adult version?
Yeah. No, right. So is this when you're the argument Yorgos of this is good for the new players? Well, it's not, because no one owns the card unless you're because someone, it's what is this thing? What is it? I get it. Why don't you just make a super fancy looking Arachne for the people that made it to the thing? Why make something that is legal in this game? I don't like Blaze. Anyway, this is a different topic now. Anyway, but we're come way off the actual main thing. But anyway, it's getting good. But we're going to move on to the last topic, right? Another one, which is probably going to be a heated debate and stuff. Something I think maybe we may all agree with. But is the Player of the Year a good idea? So if you don't know what this is, The Player of the Year is a new thing that they've introduced with the World Tour. Another branding decision. I like the World Tour. I like the idea of it. Branding every sort of thing as a World Tour. Dunno. Anyway, it's a bit confusing. But they're also doing this Player of the Year, where depending on how well they do in the tournaments from Battle Hard and upwards, Callings, Pro Tours, Worlds, where they position gives them points. And at the end of the year, whoever's got the most points is going to be the Player of the Year, right? So well done, Brody Spurlock or Michael Fang. We never doubted you, okay? But is this a good idea? I will also say that they also do regional ones as well. So we're going to have the number 1 in America, or the top 3 in America, top 3 in the Europe, and top 3 in the APAC region. Now I like that.
It's top 3.
Yeah, well, here's one. The third place does get. I believe the third place gets a monetary prize. Okay. First place is obviously.
That sounds better.
I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a top 3. There's a top 3 for the Player of the Year, and then there's a top 3 for each regional one. So yeah, the regional one sounds like I love that because that actually builds a story. The Player of the Year for one just block. I don't. It's hard, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know if I like it, and it's weird because we've got the story of Brody Spurlock and Michael Fang travels to every event whatsoever, and they're very good and they're lovely people and I love them so much. So it's got no shade on them whatsoever. But what hope in hell really is there? Like, do you know what I mean?
I mean, I do like, there are some names in Flesh and Blood, in Flesh and Blood's history. There are some players that have lived their legacy. We could be here talking about a lot of players, and a lot of people have, influenced and, are remembered by the community, etc., etc., etc. So having a more organized way of having that, because the Hall of Fame type of thing that, in 5 years or something, that Brady Spurlock is going to have an instant invite to Worlds because he's the Player of the Year 2025. I think I love that because it helps create a story. It helps create, that whole thing of, oh, it's this guy, it's Michael Fang, or, it's Bartos, it's these players that have, it's Sing. I mean, these players that still have a ring to them, but if you are not on the competitive side of Sims, or if you don't follow competitive Flesh and Blood a lot, you might barely hear them. That I think that thing it's easier for them to get exposure and to be written in the legacy of Flesh and Blood for the years to come.
Okay. Dylan?
See, when I look at kind of Hall of Fames, I think even 5 years in the future, I think the game is so young. Like, other card games that have kind of Hall of Fame systems, like, I know Flesh and Blood went into it with competitive kind of in mind, but I feel like the players like Brody, Michael, and all these names they're getting their legacy and name across while the game is young and it's a very tight-knit community. And then kind of once there's when it comes to these kind of debates, I always care about longevity.
Yeah.
So like maybe in 10 years it seems like a better system, but like it is good that there's a kind of point-based quantifier to say this player is doing good. But like it'd be cool if you kind of scale it on like contributions and stuff, because like if you compare like Brody Spurlock to Michael Hamilton, I think Brody has kind of been more active and you see his name more, but if you're talking about game contribution and a Hall of Fame, I'd give it to Hamilton first.
I've got my thing is about I love this idea because it helps support to build narrative to players, right? My biggest gripe at the minute is that all we're doing is shouting the same thing we already knew. if that made sense. If you came into this game, the likes of Brody Spurlock and Michael Feng and Michael Hamilton and Pablo and Yuki Lee Bender, you know, we're already singing and shouting about these wonderful, amazing people. And all we're going to do is go, not only are we going to sing and shout about them more, we're going to give them money, which is fine. I don't mind that. But the thing of what I would love if they just turn around and did, instead of actually just, it's actually way cheaper, right? Is we love the idea of building the narrative. No one cares that these people are getting money, right? All of them were going to show up to these events anyway, right? We love the game. We love and it is a bit of an ego boosting thing. And to be honest, people will do things to go to places and they just love the opportunity to come on camera, say their bit, and everyone goes, oh God, this guy was awesome. We loved it. And you'd be like, oh, and that is also part of the whole thing, right? I would have probably turned around and went, LSS, look, if you just did a play of the, you know, we're going to grab 10 players of each region at the end of the year. And we as a team just want to talk about these 10 players from Europe, these 10 players from the APAC region, and these 10 players from USA. And we just want to give this story that we've noticed, that we picked out because we've been listening to content from other places across the world. We've been looking at your tournament results across the whole season. And this is where we're going to do a story shout out. And then it kind of just lets everyone go, oh, okay, cool. This is just some people that we kept an eye out on. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's really the story narrative that we want. And right now I feel, and this is not a fact, but I just feel that we are kind of snowballing a handful of players because I like they're just snowballing up and up and up and up and up and up, and this is just another thing of just going. And I'm more excited about the region. I'm genuinely more excited to see who is the top 3 people in the EU region. Again, there's people who are going to argue, well, these dudes have more time. Look, there's got to be a point, right? If some guys have thrown their time and weight into going to lots of events, of course they should be talked about this year. They're putting their goddamn ass and time into it. Doesn't make them the best players. I just think it's just like they just grinded like mad for this year. So I think my opinion, the regional stuff, all sweet. America, I'm really sorry. It is just going to boil down to probably the same 3 names we're all talking about anyway, right? But I just love the fact that the APAC region and the European region, we're going to actually turn around and go, hey, look, I'm actually intrigued. Who is the top 3? I'm really intrigued because Europe is the best region that no one talks about. But that's what, do you see what I mean? There's so much there, but it's just that last bit of the who is the number 1 player in the world. It's Brody, bro. It's Brody or Michael Fang. They're going everywhere. It's like it's not even a contest.
I think if they were to do like a Hall of Fame system, I don't think it should be based on this like point win thing. Like
no.
It should be based on community achievement kind of stuff. But I do think.
But they kind of already do that anyway. They throw when I saw that advert, that was the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That was literally the Hall of Fame. Pablo's there. Yuki Lee Bender's there. There's Brody Spurlock. You know, that was literally a Hall of Fame wrapped up into an advert to play the game. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I do think the points kind of competitive side is a good motivator for people, because like I know I was watching the Tales of Alex interview with like Rob Catton.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he was going, I think it was Brazil, like one of the callings over there. And he said like he wouldn't, like he said he's putting a lot more time into the game. And like Rob Catton's a player that's top 8 worlds twice.
I know.
Doesn't get enough recognition for it. And
of
like
course.
as well, like Francesco?
Yeah, Francesco George. Yeah. That guy is like
he's like Brody Spurlock. He just doesn't get the recognition because it's not an American battle hardened.
No, do you see what my point is? Is that I love the idea of this, but it's just feels so American centric still. Somehow it still manages to be American centric, which is probably, I get it. It's just very, like, this game is pretty much propped up very heavily on the fact that America is on it. Let's not lie. Even the viewers that come to this channel, they're not going to be European or APAC. They're going to be American that push these numbers up. Let's not kid ourselves. That's fine.
Like it's really interesting to look at like the APAC region as well, because you have like Nick Butcher just won a calling, but then you have like all of Team Blue Pitch, and then you have like Worldston. I was gonna say Sam, but like there's a lot of players that are really big names, like Matt Rogers as well.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to scuff his name up, but the Pro Tour winner from Amsterdam.
Shoma.
Yeah,
Yamamura?
that's it. Thank you. I was just hoping you guys. Yeah. The thing is, even he's got the narrative is there, and the narrative is there is because the LSS team and big content creators say the name enough. We all know now. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. But I do think you're right. APAC is in that same spot of there's some
like
probably
there should
nuts
be a lot
players
more,
there.
Like there should be more kind of narrative, because you have like if you look at America, you can be like, oh, there's the Wolf Pack, and then there's Runaways, and
Well, there was the
you
Wolf
have that,
Pack,
like,
yeah.
where there was the Wolf Pack, yeah. But like there's probably a bunch of interesting stuff in Europe and APAC, like Blue Pitch, kind of Nick Butcher works with them, and then in Europe you have kind of like Sunflower Samurai, but you have a bunch of independent players, and like Team Toxic, like Jacob Clements is going everywhere right now.
And we've got we've got a world champion in Yorgos' team, Fab Chaos.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a world champion sitting there. We've even got a world champion in Team Poland. You know what I mean? Well, that's why we do the calling EU, everyone. Right, well, Yorgos, sorry, before I wrap this up, say your final points on this, because me and Dylan definitely were
No. It's fine. I mean, I really agree with all the points you've made. That's why I never felt like I wanted to intervene. But if I agree with Dylan a lot that it feels like it's going to push some players to try more, and I think that's a good thing, mainly because what you said. I mean, the top 3 spots in Europe, that's not too hard, that doesn't feel out of reach. Maybe player of the year, sure, you need to dedicate a lot of resources to compete with players like Brodus Perlock or something, that you need to invest a lot of times. But I mean, if you attend all the callings in Europe, if you play some battle hardens, it doesn't feel too out of reach to do that, and I really enjoy that. I think that's an interesting decision from LSS. If at some point it gets expanded, I would love it even more. But also, I love the fact that the prize pool per year from LSS has not been increased the past 2 years, but the player of the year somewhat increases the prizes that they're going to throw into the game, per year and stuff. So
yeah. I think basically we all agree the regional stuff is actually pretty sick, but the one that's actually dominating the headlines, and when you go to their website to check out the points-based stuff, the regional stuff you can't track, and they only put up the player of the year.
Yeah,
worldwide is the only thing that is actually getting pushed, is the least interesting bit of the whole thing.
Like if you could in Gem split it by region, that would be really cool.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Because the issue I have with the kind of US dominance is, like, I remember there was periods where I think it was around Antwerp or something, where like Europe got like 1 calling and like 2 battle hardens, and then in America it was every 2 weeks there was a battle harden stream.
Yeah.
And then there was a PQ plus, and then there was, like, you could just constantly absorb American content. Whereas so like I think the player of the year, even if you didn't have Brody, Michael, like traveling to everything would have been American just based on how many events.
Exactly. It's almost as if, I'd rather they turn around and went, get rid of that, save your money, put top 5 in all the regions, and just give 4th and 5th of each region just a bit more money. Do you know what I mean? And then you can, because there's already money you're putting away into the regions, and money for the world player thing. Do you know what I mean? And maybe then you could probably just turn around and make the top 5 people of each bit, or maybe even a top 10, and then you can put those 30 players into the world tour, into the arena for the supreme prize. You know, that would be like the death match.
Yeah, like the Team Cup at Worlds. Like,
yeah,
they did like a more like.
There's something there. I think obviously I take it this. I know this is their first iteration, but there's something there. Just get rid of the world number 1 bit. No one cares. We already know. It's just we already know it's Brody or Michael Fang because they go everywhere. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much. That was spicy. That one. I like that. Cooling EU. Thank you so much, Yorgos and Dylan. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Again, comment below if there's anything. Give us a ring. Give us a comment, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.